Hey everyone, I'm Sarah, and I'm an ex-Amish girl from Pennsylvania. I left the community several years ago, and today I want to talk about something that nobody really discusses openly: the troubling realities of Amish courtship. This isn't some romanticized story you see in movies. This is real. This is what actually happens behind closed doors, and it's time someone talked about it honestly. So, let me start by saying that when I was growing up, everything about dating and relationships was kept secret. I mean, completely secret. We didn't talk about it with our parents, we didn't learn about it in school, and we definitely didn't learn anything about our own bodies or what was appropriate and what wasn't. That lack of education, that silence, it created this perfect environment for things to go very wrong. In my community, we started dating around 16 and a half years old. Not 16, specifically 16 and a half, like there was some magic that happened in those 6 months. But here's the thing, we could only date on Saturday nights when we didn't have church the next day, and it had to be at night. You could never be seen together in public during the day. Never. If people saw you together, the gossip would spread like wildfire, and your reputation would be destroyed before you even knew what hit you. Now let me tell you how a date actually happened, because this is where it gets strange. I'd go to bed at my normal time, and then around midnight, 3 or 4 guys would show up at my house. But here's the twist. The guy who actually wanted to date me wouldn't come into my room first. Instead, his friends would come upstairs, knock on my door, and ask me if I wanted to go on a date with him. I could say yes or no, and if I said no, they'd try to convince me otherwise, which, looking back now, that pressure was not okay at all. If I said yes, then all 4 of them would come into my room. We'd all hang out for about an hour, just talking, and then the 3 friends would leave. And that's when it was just me and the guy who wanted to date me, alone in my bedroom in the middle of the night. We were expected to just talk and get to know each other, but we were also told that there could be absolutely no physical contact beyond what they called bundling. Bundling is this old practice that goes way back to when our Anabaptist ancestors were hiding from authorities in Europe. The idea was that young couples could spend time together in a warm place during the winter without getting into what they called improper situations. Supposedly, there used to be a board down the middle of the bed to keep them separated, but in my time, there was no board. It was just 2 teenagers in a bed, in the dark, expected to control themselves completely. The guy would wrap his arms around me, and we'd lay there talking and rolling around, fully clothed. Maybe he'd kiss me on the cheek, maybe on the lips if he really liked me, and then we'd talk some more, or if the conversation got boring, we'd just fall asleep. He'd leave around 3 or 4 in the morning before anyone else woke up. And here's the kicker, if everything went well, he might ask for another date, but we could only see each other once every 2 weeks. That was the rule. After 3 dates, spaced 2 weeks apart, he could ask me to be his girlfriend. And even then, even if we were in a relationship, we still couldn't be seen together in public. We couldn't go to church together, couldn't ride in a buggy together during daylight. Our entire relationship had to exist in secret, in the darkness, hidden away from everyone. Now, I need to talk about why this system is so problematic, because it's not just about the secrecy or the strange rules. It's about what happens when you put 2 young people in a bed together with absolutely no education about intimacy, about boundaries, about consent. We were never taught the names of body parts. We were never taught what was appropriate or inappropriate touch. When I got my period at 10 years old, I had no idea what was happening to me. I stuffed toilet paper in my underwear and had to pull one of my sisters aside to even understand what was going on with my body. So imagine being in that situation, bundling with a boy, and things go further than they're supposed to, which happened a lot. Pregnancy before marriage was common, way more common than anyone wants to admit. And when a girl got pregnant, the community would rush to arrange a wedding before she started showing. They'd accelerate the whole church membership process so the couple could get married quickly and hide the shame. Because that's what it was about. Not protecting the girl, not making sure she was okay, but hiding the shame and keeping her trapped in the community. And if a girl didn't want to marry the guy, too bad. The pressure from the family, from the church leaders, from everyone was overwhelming. They'd rather trap a young woman in a marriage to someone who mistreated her than risk her leaving the community. Because once you leave, you're shunned. You're cut off from your family, your friends, everything you've ever known. But here's what really keeps me up at night. The mistreatment. Inappropriate behavior in Amish communities is an open secret that spans generations. I'm talking about inappropriate touching, unwanted contact, and serious violations, all happening within families, by neighbors, even by church leaders. And victims are silenced. We're taught from birth that it's not proper to report these things to the police. We're taught to forgive and forget, to handle everything within the church. When these situations do get reported to church leaders, you know what happens? The person responsible gets shunned for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. He sits separately at church, can't eat at the same table as other members, and then after 6 weeks, he confesses, everyone forgives him, and life goes back to normal. Meanwhile, the victim is expected to forgive too. And if she doesn't, if she can't just move on and pretend it never happened, then she's the problem. She's the one with issues. She's the one who gets blamed. I knew girls who were sent away to these facilities, these so-called wellness clinics, run by Amish or Mennonite staff, where they were pressured to take medication, to be submissive, to stop speaking out. They'd come back, changed, medicated into silence. This is how the community deals with victims who won't stay quiet. They don't help them heal. They silence them. And in the rare cases when these situations make it to court, the entire Amish community shows up to support the person responsible. 50, 60 people standing behind someone who harmed a child, and nobody speaking for the victim. The victim is pressured to write letters to the judge asking for mercy, asking for the family to stay together. Can you imagine? Being harmed and then being forced to plead for leniency? The courtship system I described, the bundling, the secrecy, it all contributes to this. When you're taught that everything about relationships must be hidden, when you're given zero education about your body or about consent, when you're told that speaking up is wrong, you create the perfect environment for harm to continue. And it does continue. It's everywhere in every community, passed down through generations, and covered up by a system that values reputation and obedience over the safety of children. I want to be clear. Not every Amish person causes harm. There are good people in these communities who are just as horrified by this as anyone else. But the system protects those who do wrong. The culture silences victims, and until that changes, this will keep happening. Leaving was the hardest thing I ever did. I lost my family, my friends, my entire support system. But staying would have meant accepting this darkness, this mistreatment, this control over my body and my voice, and I couldn't do that anymore. So, why am I telling you all this? Because people need to know. The Amish aren't just some quaint, old-fashioned people who make good furniture and live without electricity. They're real people living in communities where harmful behavior is covered up, where women have no voice, where children are not protected. And as long as everyone keeps romanticizing Amish life and ignoring what really happens, nothing will change. If you're someone who's experienced harm in an Amish community, I want you to know that it's not your fault. You're not damaged, you're not broken, and you deserve to be heard. There are people on the outside who will believe you, who will help you, who won't blame you or shame you. You don't have to forgive someone who hurt you just because a church leader says you should. You have the right to be upset. You have the right to speak up. And you have the right to leave if that's what you need to do to be safe. This is the reality of Amish courtship that nobody talks about. Not the romantic buggy rides you see in movies, but the secrecy, the control, the harmful patterns, and the silence that keeps it all hidden. It's time we stopped pretending and started telling the truth. Thanks for listening.